questions focus on whether non-citizens with significant ties qualify as the people protected under the Second Amendment. Understanding historical precedents and legal definitions is essential in this discussion. This debate brings to light differing interpretations of the people in contrast to citizens. It suggests that the framers held distinct views regarding these terms in relation to rights, which is critical for comprehending Second Amendment protections. Narrowly defining the people as only citizens raises concerns about broader implications for other constitutional amendments. Such an analysis points to a significant legal and societal impact that extends beyond the Second Amendment. The historical interpretation of the Second Amendment relies on original meaning, setting it apart from the First and Fourth Amendments. This highlights a potential inconsistency in how these rights are historically and legally applied. Considerations around historical court cases, such as Bede v. Singleton, illustrate how the framers perceived the people as synonymous with citizens. This perspective reinforces arguments for restricting rights to citizens exclusively. Discussions suggest that non-citizens may assert rights through their interaction with the immigration process. This raises critical questions about what establishes a sufficient connection for such rights. The nature of legal standards emerges as a focal point, noting that varied interpretations arise from different legal scenarios, often leading to inconsistent court decisions. This variability is a fundamental aspect of the law. The ongoing debate on citizenship rights and the Second Amendment underscores the necessity of historical context for modern legal interpretations, particularly concerning non-citizens. This understanding is vital for achieving legal consistency. Historical precedents support governmental authority to disarm individuals, referencing past practices aimed at lawbreakers, including non-violent offenders. This historical context establishes a legal tradition. Statutes like the 1328 Statute of Northampton serve as historical guides, informing today's legal frameworks on disarmament. These past laws create a context for understanding contemporary regulations. Examples from the founding era illustrate laws that justified disarming individuals labeled as peace breakers. This historical backdrop is crucial for evaluating current disarmament practices. The implications of disarming unlawful non-citizens warrant consideration, particularly regarding compliance with registration and potential cycles of violence. These concerns raise important questions about public safety. The government presents an argument grounded in civic virtue and historical evidence, proposing that non-violent misdemeanants, like Mr. Rim, should retain their rights. This assertion prompts a dialogue about balancing civic responsibility and individual rights. Discussions also arise regarding the historical obligations for males to be armed as part of militia duties, challenging the assumption that lawful behavior was necessary for individual rights. This reveals the importance of historical context. The conversation emphasizes that the Second Amendment is not a second-class right subject to different regulations. It argues that individuals, regardless of citizenship, possess certain rights under the Constitution. Previous court rulings indicate a long-standing recognition that rights of assembly and petition extend beyond citizenship. This historical viewpoint broadens the interpretation of these fundamental rights. Evidence suggests that non-citizens have historically participated in petitioning the government. This challenges the view that rights are inherently tied to citizenship status. The concept of a political community is crucial in understanding rights. The people encompasses more than just citizens, suggesting a community-based approach to rights. Discussions address the complexities surrounding firearm registration for non-citizens. The absence of a federal firearm registry complicates the enforcement of such regulations. The distinction between lawful and unlawful non-citizens emerges, questioning whether lawful status equates to adequate ties to the nation. This concern relates back to the fundamental rights of individuals. The argument challenges whether the government's firearm ownership regulations unjustly penalize individuals based on immigration status. This raises significant constitutional dilemmas. The role of historical analysis in legal arguments proves essential. Petitioners contend that current regulations must align with historical precedents to ensure compliance with constitutional standards. Criticism arises over the Attorney General's broad disarmament stance. Historical examples indicate that disarmament should focus on specific violent offenses rather than encompass all law violations. Concerns linger regarding the potential for violence in law enforcement encounters with undocumented individuals. The argument highlights the necessity for regulations that respect both public safety and constitutional rights. The post-Civil War reluctance of Congress to disarm individuals based on allegiance reflects a significant shift in loyalty and citizenship understanding. This evolution indicates a more inclusive approach towards integration into the Union. Examining the treatment of loyalists during the American Revolution reveals fears surrounding internal security threats. Such fears influenced legislative decisions about disarmament and citizenship. The disarmament of Catholics during colonial America serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting government overreach in regulating rights based on perceived threats. This historical context raises concerns about current laws. The contradiction within the arguments becomes apparent, where evidence suggests individual rights yet lacks sufficient criteria for determining these rights. This inconsistency challenges the claims made. Historical context reveals disarming laws for non-violent offenses dating back to the early 1800s. These precedents illustrate how conduct, rather than citizenship, influenced firearm rights. The discussion includes loyalist laws from the founding era, showing that most were non-violent individuals. This perspective suggests a broader re-evaluation of current rights interpretations.